In a small, picturesque town nestled between lush forests and sprawling rivers, there lived a man named Jack. He was widely known not just for his adventurous escapades but also for his unwavering compassion toward animals. Tall and athletic, with tousled dark hair that framed his kind face, Jack spent most of his free time exploring the surrounding wilderness, forging a deep connection with nature. He believed that every creature, no matter how big or small, had its own story to tell. Jack's adventurous spirit was ignited at a young age when he first learned to climb trees and navigate the winding trails that surrounded his home. His childhood was filled with thrilling encounters, rescuing injured birds, nursing stray dogs back to health, and volunteering at local animal shelters. This passion for animal welfare grew into a resolute part of his identity. Friends admired him not only for his bravery but also for his ability to empathize with creatures that others often overlooked or feared. His adventurous undertakings weren't limited to the safety of the woods. Jack had traveled to distant lands, where he encountered exotic wildlife and immersed himself in diverse ecosystems. Each journey only deepened his understanding of the delicate balance between humans and nature. Whether it was trekking through the jungles of South America or scaling mountains in Africa, he returned home each time with stories that inspired those around him. However, Jack was more than just an adventurer. He had a heart of gold. The townspeople often turned to him when they faced challenges involving animals, be it a lost pet or a wild creature that wandered too close to town. He was known for responding without hesitation, always willing to put himself in harm's way if it meant safeguarding another life. This innate drive stemmed from an incident in his youth where he had witnessed a fellow hunter carelessly injure an animal, leaving an indelible mark on his conscience. On this particular day, as Jack set out into the woods with his usual enthusiasm and courage, little did he know that fate had something extraordinary in store for him. A moment that would not only test his bravery but also unravel truths about himself that he had yet to discover. The forest hummed with life around him, blissfully unaware of the dramatic events that were about to unfold. The sun hung high in the sky, casting dappled shadows through the canopy of trees as Jack ventured deeper into the woods on this particular morning. The air was crisp and filled with the scent of pine and wildflowers, a testament to the serene beauty of his surroundings. He had set out for a leisurely hike, but as he navigated the familiar paths, he sensed an unusual stillness, a feeling that nature itself held its breath. Suddenly, the peace was shattered by a distant sound. Jack's instinct kicked in, and he hurried towards the commotion, adrenaline pulsing through his veins. As he pushed through a cluster of bushes, he came upon a sight that struck terror into his heart, a large bear flailing desperately in the swift current of a raging river. Panic engulfed him as he realized the bear was caught in a dangerous struggle for survival. Without hesitation, Jack's training and passion merged into one overwhelming desire to help. He observed the scene. The water whipped violently around the bear, threatening to pull it under. The creature's mighty build seemed futile against the relentless force of nature, and each desperate thrash only seemed to intensify its perilous situation. Jack felt a surge of urgency. There was no time to lose. He quickly scanned his surroundings for any potential hazards while plotting his approach. Climbing down the embankment, Jack cautiously moved closer to the riverbank, mindful of his footing on slippery rocks. Each moment felt like an eternity as he fought against fear and doubt. Could he really save such an enormous animal? Yet deep within him surged a fierce determination. He called out softly to reassure the bear, trying to signal that help was near despite being aware of its likely panic at his presence. As he made his way into the frigid water, Jack felt his feet slipping beneath him but pressed on, driven by sheer instinct and compassion. The chilling current tugged at him ferociously as he reached out with trembling hands toward the struggling bear, locking eyes with it for just a fleeting moment. In that instant, Jack knew this was not just an act of bravery but a fateful decision that would change everything about both their lives forever. With every ounce of strength, he lunged forward into the swirling water, fully committed to saving the bear from drowning. With the roar of the river drowning out all other sounds, Jack felt an adrenaline rush coursing through him as he prepared to leap into the icy water. Every instinct in him screamed to hold back, but he silenced those voices with sheer determination. He realized that the bear needed him, and failure was not an option. As he navigated down the slippery embankment, his heart raced in sync with the raging current. The ground was unstable, peppered with moss-covered stones that seemed to conspire against his descent, but Jack pressed on. His focus fixed on the bear, which struggled against the swift waters, every swipe of its paw fueled by panic. In its eyes, Jack saw a reflection of raw fear, a mirror to his own trepidation. Finally reaching the water's edge, Jack plunged into the frigid river. A shockwave hit him instantly, The cold numbed his legs almost immediately, and he gasped at the sudden chill enveloping him. The relentless current pushed against him like an aggressive tide, threatening to pull him downstream. But Jack's resolve hardened. He forced himself forward with powerful strokes, using every ounce of strength he had. As he got closer to the bear, he realized how dire the situation truly was. The animal was thrashing wildly now, splashes of water soaring around them both. Caution weighed heavily on Jack's mind. One wrong move could startle the bear into a frenzy or cause it to lose its grasp on life altogether. Yet somehow, as Jack drew near enough for recognition, a connection formed between them, a desperate echo of understanding. "Hold on," he shouted above the tumult of rushing water as he reached out. The bear calmed momentarily, or perhaps just exhausted, locking eyes with Jack in that fleeting instance. With precision and courage driven by instinct, Jack wrapped one arm around the bear's sturdy torso while gripping a nearby rock with his other hand for stability. The moment felt surreal as they struggled together against nature's wrath. Jack pulled with everything in him, fighting against both exhaustion and fear as he battled upstream towards safety. Each powerful stroke brought them closer to shore, and hope stirred in his chest. Despite being drenched and shivering from cold stress, Jack knew he could not let go now. Their fates were intertwined in this harrowing final push towards survival. As Jack finally managed to pull the bear to the safety of the riverbank, he collapsed onto the grassy shore, gasping for breath. The bear, panting heavily, staggered onto solid ground, its fur dripping with water, and for a moment, both of them lay there, utterly spent. Jack's heart raced not only from physical exertion but also from the sheer relief of having saved the creature. Yet, as his senses settled, he became acutely aware of the bear's reaction. The bear stood frozen for just a heartbeat, its large dark eyes wide with fear. Jack watched closely as the animal took several cautious steps back, eyeing him warily. In the wake of its harrowing experience, it was now caught between instinctual caution and an inkling of gratitude. The tension in the air was palpable. Jack could feel their connection tinged with uncertainty. He quickly recognized that although he had saved its life, trust would take much longer to cultivate. "It's okay," Jack whispered softly, trying to project calmness into the volatile atmosphere. He made no sudden movements, even as the bear blinked at him in disbelief. Its muscular frame trembled. Was it merely exhaustion or lingering dread? Though it had been rescued from near death, this moment reflected how complex animal behavior could be, especially in dire circumstances. What followed was an unexpected display of emotion. The bear lowered its head cautiously, sniffing the ground where Jack lay, a gesture that offered a flicker of hope. Gradually, it took another step closer, curiosity overcoming fear. Jack held his breath as he analyzed every movement. He knew better than to reach out until he sensed the bear's readiness. Suddenly, the moment shifted. The bear let out a low groan, its body shuddering as it seemed to process what had just occurred. Then, to Jack's astonishment, it edged forward and lightly nuzzled against his side, a hesitant acknowledgement of gratitude mixed with vulnerability. It was a small act but carried immense weight, as if the bear had begun to grasp that not all humans posed a threat. Jack was taken aback by this unexpected gesture of trust. Warmth spread through him as he realized that despite their difference in size and species, they had shared an extraordinary bond formed in adversity. Just minutes ago, this powerful animal had been fighting for its life in the relentless river. Now it was leaning into him with a quiet understanding that transcended words. They were both survivors of this day, connected by more than mere circumstance. They were linked by the threads of life and mutual respect forged through an act of undeniable bravery. As the adrenaline of the rescue began to fade, Jack found himself seated on the riverbank, still trembling from the cold and exertion. The bear had wandered away to regain its strength, but Jack remained rooted in place, lost in contemplation. The experience had been overwhelming, an emotional whirlwind that stirred something deep within him. He was now left with a kaleidoscope of feelings, relief, exhilaration, and an inexplicable sense of connection. Reflecting on the moments that had just transpired, Jack grappled with the weight of his actions. He recalled how fear had almost paralyzed him at first, but he chose to act in defiance of that fear. It was easy to dismiss courage as simply a lack of fear. However, Jack understood now that true bravery lay in the willingness to confront one's fears for the sake of another. The bear's initial panic was a mirror reflecting his own trepidation, yet it also symbolized the delicate balance between trust and vulnerability. As he watched the bear shake off droplets of water under the sun's gentle rays, Jack felt a surge of empathy wash over him. This moment had taught him not only about courage but also about compassion, how essential it is to understand and connect with creatures who are often seen as wild and untamed. In that brief encounter, he realized they both shared a vulnerability, a reminder that all living beings can experience fear and require support. The bond forged through their ordeal felt almost sacred. It transcended verbal communication and instead spoke through instinctual understanding. Jack marveled at how an act of selflessness could lead to such profound kinship between species. He had ventured into dangerous waters out of instinct and empathy, but what emerged from it was a sense of shared respect between man and beast, the acknowledgement that they were more alike than different. As he rose to leave this spot forever altered by their encounter, Jack carried with him a renewed sense of purpose. The experience affirmed his belief in standing up for those who cannot stand up for themselves, whether they walk on 2 legs or 4. With each step back towards home, he felt empowered by the lessons imparted by this brave bear. The world was full of challenges waiting to be met head-on, and sometimes those challenges led to life-changing revelations about one's own heart. Days passed since Jack's life-altering encounter with the bear, and as he resumed his normal routine, the memory of their extraordinary bond lingered in his mind. Haunted by nagging curiosity about the bear's life before their meeting, Jack often returned to the riverbank, hoping to catch another glimpse of the majestic creature. One sunny afternoon, while trekking through a familiar trail lined with wildflowers, he heard a rustling sound that made his heart race with anticipation. As he approached the source of the noise, Jack caught sight of a large silhouette moving among the trees. His breath hitched in his throat as he realized it was the bear he had saved. But this time, the bear appeared more relaxed, rummaging through the underbrush for berries. For a brief moment, they locked eyes again, and Jack felt an electric jolt of recognition pass between them. Overwhelmed by emotions, Jack took a cautious step forward, only to be met by a surprising sight. Tied around the bear's neck was a frayed collar, unmistakably marked with numbers. A whirlpool of memories surged within him at that moment. The collar held significance from years ago. It once belonged to a cherished pet that had mysteriously vanished during one of Jack's childhood camping trips. The realization struck him like thunder. The bear was not just any wild animal. It was a relative of his old friend. Eyes wide with disbelief and excitement, Jack recalled playing with his dog and how heartbroken he had been when it disappeared. He thought he would never know what happened to it and had long buried those memories beneath layers of nostalgia and sorrow. But here it was, a living connection to a past he thought lost forever. As Jack knelt down cautiously, extending his hand toward the bear, he whispered tenderly, "Is that you? How did you end up here?" The bear seemed uncharacteristically gentle in its response. It nosed toward him as if sensing their shared history. Jack couldn't shake off the emotions rising within him. This discovery felt profound and serendipitous. It was as though fate had intertwined their paths not only through an act of bravery but also through legacy and kinship. With renewed purpose in his heart, Jack vowed to advocate for wildlife conservation more vigorously than ever before. This unexpected twist in both their lives rekindled Jack's passion for protecting animals and reminding him that every creature carries a story worth hearing. Fueled by the emotional connection he felt with the bear, Jack embarked on a quest to uncover its backstory. The significance of the collar had ignited a fire within him, a desire not only to understand the bear's past but also to advocate for its future. He began his investigation by visiting the local wildlife rehabilitation center, hoping they might have insights into the bear's origins. Upon arriving, he was greeted by Sarah, a knowledgeable wildlife biologist who had dedicated her life to animal conservation. As Jack shared his experience and the collar's history, Sarah's eyes widened in recognition. "This bear is part of a group that roams these woods," she explained. "It's likely that it was once a pet, as many bears in this area are orphaned at a young age and raised by humans before being released back into the wild." Intrigued, Jack learned that the bear had been spotted several times near his town but had recently fallen into danger due to encroachment from human developments. Habitat loss had pushed the bear into increasingly precarious situations, leading it to the river where Jack had discovered it, desperately fighting for survival. The information struck Jack hard. It became clear that many animals face similar struggles, caught between their natural instincts and human interference. Determined to make a difference, Jack requested to accompany Sarah on her next expedition to track and monitor the bear's movements. Together, they ventured into the woods, armed with tracking devices and a renewed sense of purpose. As they hiked through the dense forest, Sarah shared stories of other animals that had faced similar challenges, deer losing their grazing grounds to urban sprawl and foxes struggling against poaching. Through this journey, Jack's appreciation for wildlife conservation deepened. He saw firsthand the struggles these animals endured and realized that saving one creature could resonate far beyond that singular act. By advocating for habitat protection and responsible human interaction with wildlife, he could help ensure that future generations of animals would not face the same fate as his newfound friend. Eventually, they succeeded in locating the bear, and Jack felt a rush of joy upon seeing it healthy and thriving in its natural environment. This moment solidified his commitment to conservation efforts. He recognized that protecting wildlife was not just about rescuing individuals but about preserving entire ecosystems. As he watched the bear roam freely, Jack felt a profound sense of fulfillment, knowing that every effort made to safeguard their habitats would contribute to a brighter future for both animals and humans alike. Over the following weeks, Jack spent more time in the woods, hoping to encounter the bear again. Each visit filled him with anticipation, and it wasn't long before his persistence paid off. One sunny afternoon, he spotted the bear near a berry patch, rummaging through the undergrowth. Instead of retreating in fear, the bear lifted its head and recognized Jack, a moment that solidified their growing bond. Jack approached slowly, arms outstretched in a non-threatening gesture. To his delight, the bear ambled closer, as if remembering their previous encounter. This time, there was no hesitation. The bear nuzzled Jack's hand gently, a clear sign of trust and affection that sent warmth cascading through him. In that instant, Jack understood that their relationship had evolved into something deeper, an unspoken friendship rooted in shared experiences and mutual respect. As days turned into weeks, their encounters became regular. Jack began bringing treats, fresh fruits and nuts, while also documenting the bear's habits and behaviors. In turn, the bear seemed increasingly at ease around him, often playfully rolling in the grass or curiously investigating Jack's backpack. These moments were profound. They taught Jack about loyalty and companionship in ways he had never envisioned. The bear's ability to forgive and trust after such a traumatic experience resonated deeply within him. Through these interactions, Jack learned invaluable lessons about wildlife protection. He came to understand that it wasn't just about saving individual animals, but also about advocating for their habitats. As more development encroached upon the bear's territory, Jack felt compelled to act. This was not just a fight for one animal. It was a call to protect an entire ecosystem teeming with life. The connection he formed with the bear ignited a fire within him to educate others about conservation. He began organizing community events focused on habitat preservation and responsible wildlife interaction. His passion became infectious as local townspeople joined him in efforts to protect the natural spaces they cherished. Jack's bond with the bear served as both inspiration and motivation. It transformed his perspective on nature and humanity's role within it. He realized that protecting wildlife wasn't just an obligation but a shared responsibility. Each creature had its own story worth fighting for. Every time he returned to the woods and saw the bear thriving in its habitat, he felt reassured. Profound connections could indeed lead to meaningful change. Together they embodied a powerful reminder of what it means to coexist harmoniously with nature. One afternoon, while researching bear behavior at the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center, Jack stumbled upon an old file marked with his last name. Intrigued, he approached Sarah, who was organizing documents in the corner of the room. "What's this about?" he asked, pointing to the file. Sarah looked up, her expression shifting to one of recognition. "That belongs to a family of bears that were tracked years ago. Your family has been involved in local wildlife initiatives for generations, Jack. Your grandfather was particularly known for his work with bears in this area." Curiosity piqued, Jack opened the file and began to sift through the contents. Among photographs and notes, he found a detailed account of a bear named Coda, who bore a striking resemblance to the bear he had rescued. The notes described Coda as a playful and intelligent animal that had once been part of a larger family unit before losing its way during a severe storm. As Jack read on, he discovered that Coda was believed to have descendants still roaming the forest near his town. A sense of wonder washed over him. Not only did this bear have a connection to his childhood pet, but it also linked directly to his family's legacy. His grandfather's passion for conservation had been passed down through generations, yet somehow Jack had lost touch with that piece of himself amidst the chaos of adulthood. This revelation struck Jack profoundly. It was as if the threads of his life had come together in an intricate tapestry, revealing a purpose he had subconsciously yearned for all along. He realized that his commitment to protecting wildlife wasn't just an external endeavor, it was an intrinsic part of who he was. His identity was intertwined with the very essence of nature and conservation. Motivated by this new understanding, Jack decided to delve deeper into his family's history and the legacy left behind by his grandfather. He began reaching out to local historians and conservationists, eager to learn more about past initiatives and how he could contribute to future efforts. This journey became not just about saving animals, but about restoring his connection to the land and honoring the work of those who came before him. With each step forward, Jack felt invigorated and empowered. The bear had not only reminded him of the importance of wildlife, but had also unearthed a profound sense of belonging and identity within him. He understood now that protecting these creatures was also about preserving his own legacy, a promise to carry forth the values instilled in him by his family while forging new paths for future generations. As he ventured back into the woods, Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose driving him forward, one that would shape both his life and the lives of countless animals for years to come. As Jack stood on the riverbank where it all began, he felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude wash over him. The journey that started with a daring rescue had transformed into a profound exploration of his identity and purpose. He marveled at how a single act of bravery, diving into icy waters to save a struggling bear, had spiraled into a life-changing adventure that unveiled layers of his family history and ignited a passionate commitment to wildlife advocacy. Embracing his new role as an advocate, Jack now dedicated himself to educating others about the challenges wildlife faces in the modern world. He organized community workshops focused on conservation efforts, inviting local residents to join him in protecting their shared environment. With each event, he shared stories of his encounters with the bear and the importance of preserving natural habitats, hoping to inspire others just as he had been inspired. Jack also collaborated with Sarah and other conservationists to create initiatives aimed at restoring local ecosystems. They launched campaigns to plant native species along riverbanks, ensuring that wildlife would not only survive but thrive in their natural surroundings. The bear became more than just a creature he had saved. It symbolized resilience and the interconnectedness of all living beings. Reflecting on his experiences, Jack understood that acts of bravery often lead to unexpected journeys of self-discovery. His initial impulse to help had blossomed into a lifelong mission, a realization that true fulfillment comes from being part of something larger than oneself. In protecting wildlife, Jack found not only purpose but also friendship and loyalty among those who shared his vision for a harmonious coexistence with nature. As seasons changed and the bear continued to roam freely in its habitat, Jack often returned to the woods not just for the thrill of seeing it again, but also to remind himself of how far he had come. Each visit reinforced his belief that every creature has a story worth telling and deserves respect and protection. In this newfound path, Jack felt empowered by the legacy of his grandfather and the bond he cultivated with the bear. It was as if both past and present converged in this moment, an affirmation that courage can spark change far beyond individual acts. As he walked away from the riverbank, Jack carried with him a renewed sense of hope for both wildlife and humanity, a testament to how one brave decision can ripple through time, inspiring future generations to honor nature's beauty and fragility.